Ready?
Yes.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Elick,
Here.
Mr. Gebhardt,
Here.
Ms. Karstafen,
Here.
Mr. Hauser,
Here.
and Mrs. Seguin.
Here.
Would everybody please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the December 14th, 2022 Elyria Board of Education meeting. I'd like to introduce our group up here. To my right is Board Member and Vice President Mike Gebhardt. To his right is Board Member Elaine Sequin. My name is Greg Elick. To my left is Board Member Annie Karstafen. To her left is Board Member Len Hauser. To his left is our Superintendent Ann Slush. And all the way down in the end is our Treasurer Joy Clickinger. We do not have any board recognition or presentations today, but visitor comments. Nobody signed up in a week in advance for 15 minutes, but we do have somebody signed up today for 5 minutes, and that's Letitia Walker. Letitia, would you please come forward and at the microphone, for the record, just please state your address. And then the 5 minutes is all yours.
571 3rd Street, Elyria.
Okay, thank you. So go.
I came up here today because I have probably emailed everyone on that board over a month ago, and I have never received correspondence. I received this email, nothing. My daughter was suspended, then expelled for defending herself after she was assaulted. She wasn't even awarded her due process. The principals never even showed up to the suspension hearing. I have not been able to talk to the superintendent or the treasurer. She's been out of school for 45 days. The only person I've talked to was the secretary, who told me it's up to me to figure out what she's supposed to do for education. So I'm just wondering, what do y'all do all day? Because I've not received no correspondence back.
And what is your daughter's name?
Talia Walker.
Madam Superintendent, is that a name in the, currently in the system here that we should be aware of, or?
I am going to defer to Mrs. Blatt. Is that a name through
Who's a current student?
current student? Yeah.
Okay, and is there a expulsion hearing? Was there an expulsion, or?
She was suspended for 10 days. We got to let her go to the hearing. No one showed but Ms. Boner. The principal didn't show up. They had a off meeting afterwards, after we left, and decided to expel her.
I can check into that, because
Okay.
typically that's not the case. So let me check into that. I don't
Because
have that.
any email that I will get on something like
Yeah.
that, I will forward to
And
our
I have not gotten an
superintendent.
email as well.
I purposely emailed, so I have records of it.
Okay,
And I did multiple times. I did speak with Mrs. Slosh's secretary. I guess she said she was the secretary, and she said she would let her know. I finally was able to talk to one of the principals at the school, and she deferred me to the sheriff's office to press charges against the person who harmed my daughter.
okay. Can you, before you leave your email,
Yeah.
and then when our superintendent gets back to you, she can CC me, I'm the board president, and that way we can be aware of what's going on here.
Yes, because I do know, I read up a lot on the Ohio school laws,
Mhm.
and none of it was right.
Okay, well, obviously, we want to have a due process for you and for your daughter, and if that was missed, I apologize as president of the board, and we will have our superintendent get back to you and try to make sure everything gets settled right.
Is that the expulsion hearing that's on the agenda for this
Yeah,
evening?
so as I looked at it, it is we appoint members tonight for that appeal can happen. It's not until January 4th, though, I believe, is when the hearing, because there's
Okay.
a meeting in December. When I look at the dates and the timeline, that's what I'm piecing together.
Okay, so there is a place on the agenda where there's going to be 2 board members that are actually going to be appointed to that hearing, if that is the hearing.
In the
And
meantime,
that,
she's
yeah,
been
that's
out of
my
school.
gut. I'm just assuming off of the information that I see here.
Okay.
Knowing bits and pieces.
But either way, I'd like to see the correspondence and make sure that it's taken care of.
She's been out of school since November with
Okay.
no school, nothing, no one. even
Okay.
mentioned it.
Well, I apologize that there was an error in the communication, and we'll make sure our superintendent gets back to you.
Ms. Blatt will take your email for me, so you don't have to stay if you don't want.
What is your name again? Because I want to make sure.
Letitia Walker,
It's on here for the record.
That's the student's
Well, I
name,
just want to look at
isn't
my
it?
emails.
Talia Walker.
I think that's
Talia's
the only thing I got.
Talia,
actually.
and you're Letitia.
Letitia, yeah.
That's 12.5.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so Madam Superintendent, you'll CC me on that and keep me in the loop on that? Okay. So that's the only speaker that we have today. Moving along on the agenda, the minutes have been posted for the November 14th and 16th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Karstoffen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Gebhardt. Any comments or questions? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Karstafen? Aye. Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Hauser?
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Madam Treasurer, you have treasurer action items for us this evening?
Yes, I do. The first item is for approval of the financial reports for November. The second item is to approve the attached list of purchase orders in order to comply with our purchasing procedures. The third item is to acknowledge, express appreciation, and accept the donation as listed from New and Living Way Ministries, $500 of supplies to Westwood Elementary.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the treasurer's action items?
So moved.
A motion by Board Member
Second.
Gebhardt and a second by Board Member Sequin. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin?
Aye.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Hauser?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Madam Treasurer, you have OFCC, OSFC information for us this evening?
We have an expulsion hearing. The treasurer other?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, treasurer other. I'd like a motion to appoint board members Annie Karstoffen and Mike Gebhardt as the primary reps, and the alternates will be Greg Elick, Len Hauser, and Elaine Sequin. For a hearing date will be Wednesday, January 4th, 2023, that should be, at 4 p.m. at the Elyria Schools Administration Building. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Karstoffen. Do I have a second?
Second.
And second by Board Member Hauser. Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Hauser?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. All right, we jumped the gun there. OFCC, OSFC.
Okay, I'm asking the board to approve the change order for Phase 2 of the stadium as detailed in the enclosure.
Okay, and I believe everybody received a update from Mr. Rigda on this.
Yes.
So we should all be informed. So do I have a motion to approve the change order at the stadium for Phase 2?
So moved.
Motion by Board Member Gebhardt. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Board Member Karstoffen. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Ms. Karstafen? Aye. Mr. Hauser?
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Madam Superintendent, do you have action items for us this evening?
I do, thank you. First of all, to approve the payment of up to 100 hours for IEP obligations for the following certified staff. Next, to approve the athletic overnight field trips for out-of-state. And as you can see listed below, we have wrestling and soccer. We're trying something new where we list a lot at once instead of having so many here and there. Then to approve the purchase of computer hardware to replace at the high school, and that concludes my action items.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the superintendent action items?
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Seekman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Karstoffen. Comments and questions?
Go ahead, Greg.
Madam Superintendent, so what are we changing on these IEP obligations here, the hours?
We have, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mrs. Blatt, we had a teacher that left, that they're picking up the caseload and writing the IEPs for that teacher, which is over and above their own caseload.
Okay, so we're paying the same rates, but two people are taking over a
Correct.
caseload of somebody that left, and this may be up to 100 hours?
Correct.
Okay. All right, other questions? Len, did you have a question?
Just what's the computer equipment? What is that?
We're upgrading at the high school. The computers are, well, the building's 13 years now, so some of them have been there for, as we know, technology becomes obsolete pretty quickly.
Yes, it does.
So we're upgrading.
Mhm. Okay, any other comments or questions? All right, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Segwin,
Aye.
Ms. Karstafen,
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt,
Aye.
Mr. Hauser,
Aye.
and Mr. Elick.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, Madam Superintendent, you have personnel action items for us this evening?
I certainly do. First of all, to approve the retirement of the following certified staff. First of all, Christopher Cha. He's been with the district for 35 years.
Oh, my goodness.
So he is, he's going to, his wife still teaches here, so we'll still see him. And then Cindy Zersky, who has been with our district for 24 and came to us from another district. So we wish them well and thank them for their service.
Absolutely.
Also to approve the resignation for the following staff member. She's relocating with her husband, so that is why she's leaving. To approve the unpaid leave of absence of the following certified staff. To approve the appointment of the following certified substitutes. To approve the following district and non-district game workers. To approve the supplemental contracts for the following certified and classified staff. To approve the following athletic supplemental contracts for the following staff. To approve the payment of the hourly wage for after-school tutoring, as listed below. To approve the resignation of the following classified staff member. To approve the unpaid educational leave of absence for the following classified staff. And this is kind of a cool story. Demarilis is doing her student teaching. She's been working at our district as a para, and her father, Alfredo, and mother, Damaris, both work at the district as well. So kind of a really cool story. Also to approve the unpaid leave of absence for the following classified staff member. To approve the appointment of the following classified administrative assistant as detailed below, one being a correction. To approve the appointment of the following classified staff, and as you can see, a lot of moving around and reassigning. And that concludes my personnel action items tonight.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the personnel action items as recommended by the superintendent?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Board Member Gebhardt, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Hauser. Questions or comments? I do have a question. Where are we at with subs? What's our number right now?
We're about 50. We have a lot of subs who apply and find other jobs, some of which have found other jobs in the district. So constantly looking, recruiting, and then others who take other positions elsewhere.
Does the 50 include the building subs, or? No, okay. All right, any other comments or questions?
Greg, I was just going to commend, I'm looking at the athletic supplemental contracts, and I see Eric Burnett, volunteer. What a tremendous asset to our school, our district over the years. Elyria High Wrestling is on the map in the state and in the country because of his work, the discipline that he's taught the young men to be a part of the program, and now I see his compensation is going to be volunteer. That's impressive.
Yes, very.
That's impressive.
And that was important to him too, right? To
It
be able to
was.
stay
He wanted to
involved.
be back with the flexibility of getting to see his own sons wrestle in college. but he he said he'll always be a part of the program somehow. So,
Yeah, that's a great story. He's truly a Elyria pioneer all the way. Other questions or comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Hauser?
Aye.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Madam Superintendent, do you have a superintendent's report for us this evening?
yes, very short, but wanted to remind you, this weekend is the Holiday Spectacular, and I think we're going to be very, very pleased. We've gotten to see some snippets with their concerts this week. Also wanted to say thank you to everyone involved in getting the Rotary Christmas party yesterday for our students. That was wonderful. Aramark did a phenomenal job with the meals, and commend some of our staff and Rotary staff for decorating. You wouldn't have believed this was a boardroom yesterday, but
I heard the Santa was outstanding, too.
one of the best we've ever had.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard that, too.
And then, this is our only board meeting, so from the Elyria Schools, this month, we'd like to say happy holidays, and please come catch a game or a match over break. We have a lot going on at the schools, and thank you for everything you do.
Great, super. All right, Madam Superintendent, thank you. Moving along on the agenda, we have a couple of business items here. First one is a pro temp, so I'll need a motion, adopt a resolution to appoint myself, Greg Elick, as the pro temp. And then the second one is, we have a number of items from our policies and regulations manual that we've had one reading already. So we would need a motion to approve the second reading in the adoption of the following policies and regulations, and you can see the 5 listed there. Elaine, did you have any comments on any of these, or are there
No,
anything that we should
nothing.
be aware of? Okay,
I mean, we discussed them
last time.
so-
Okay. So I'll need a motion to approve those 2 items. Do I have a
So
motion? I have a motion by Board Member Karstoffen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Sequin. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Hauser?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. All right, Board of Education, for the good of the cause. The only thing I'll add is I heard a lot of great things also about the Christmas party it went over very well, and a lot of people in Rotary had a lot of good things to say about it, and probably the best being the Santa. So, any other items here for the good of the cause, board members?
We had 2 nice fires going.
2 nice fires, okay,
Santa came down the chimney. They could put one of them out.
okay. With that said, I'm going to move along and ask for a motion to request an executive session to consider the appointment of a public official and for the purpose of considering the employment, appointment, compensation of a public employee or official with possible, I don't think we need action to follow, right?
Well, I actually would like to request additional grounds for the executive session, if I could.
Go ahead.
That would be consideration of discipline against a regulated individual, and that is with potential action involved.
Okay. As authorized under Ohio Revised Code, ORC, Section 121.22. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Karstoffen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Sequin. Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll for us into executive session?
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Hauser?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries, and we will adjourn into executive session.